Diddle-a-dum-dum, British Strongman Podcast, episode 51. So today we've had a bit of positive news regarding lockdown. We seem to have the roadmap laid out to us, which seems good, and we've got some hope. So today I thought that it'd be good to talk about people I've noticed a lot of people have changed shape or got out of shape during lockdown. They might have put a bit of weight on, or they might have lost a bit of weight, or they might be less jacked or whatever. So be thinking that there could potentially be hope and comps on the horizon. Let's talk about how we'd recommend that people get back to the fighting shape or the competition shape that they want to be, Shane. So what would you say what would you say would be the most important thing to get back into shape for competitions?
Well, I think you've got to remember that in terms of your tendon health and stuff like that, I'm assuming we're talking about some people that haven't been able to do much training wise since the lockdown. Obviously, it's been quite a while, and your tendon strength and health kind of goes down. They get a bit more like elastic as you're resting. So what you don't want to do is jump in too heavy, because you will cause yourself some kind of, whether it be some tendon pain issue or a niggle, whatever you want to call it. So I think the most important thing is that first 2 weeks back, making sure that, because I really believe, especially from the years of training I've done and the amount of breaks I've had to have here and there, that I really do believe that in 8 to 10 weeks, you can take yourself to a high standard. It's kind of like the way why I train like I train now is I'm quite relaxed. It's more like if I miss a session, I miss a session. But if I decided to do something, I'd give myself 8 to 10 weeks and I'd go ham. And I feel that's enough time to get yourself in fighting shape. But if you've been minimally training for a couple of months, that first 2 weeks are the most important back. So I'd almost say to train each day and kind of feel like you've not done much is usually more than enough. Like just a couple of sets of just moving on the first session, going through, deep knee flexion on your squat and getting some good hinging on a deadlift, and maybe doing a little bit of isolation here and there. And then even if you feel like you've done nothing, you'll probably be really fucking sore. And then you've just got to give yourself those first couple of sessions back to almost reintroduce your body to training again. And then you can start to pick up a little bit on week 2, get yourself back to like 70% of what you usually do. And then come week 3, you might be getting close to back to your normal kind of training structure. But if you fuck those first 2 weeks up, you'll end up carrying a little niggle into week 3, and you'll probably push through because you haven't been training for so long. And then come week 10, you'll have some chronic fucking elbow issue or something, all stemming from cocking up the first 2 weeks back. So I think they're the most important to get right.
Yeah. So what I think, what have we got, like 5 weeks or something now till 12th of April till like potentially some people can get back to the gym. Right. So I think that obviously, like, I think most people listening to this are going to be keeping up with training just in some respect. But if you aren't, like, just look at what you want to do when you get back to the gym. You want to be able to get back to your usual kind of lifting heavy, doing the high percentage work or whatever, doing like basically loading yourself up with stuff that you've not been able to do over the last few months or whatever, whilst I've been in lockdown. So what you want to do is be able to do that as soon as possible with as minimal risk to injury, not only injury, but recovery capacity as possible. Like, if you're anything like me, like I don't like DOMs. I hate getting DOMs, and it just frustrates me because it holds me back. I think about like I want to train all the time, so I don't like to be sore because I feel like it limits what I do in that session or whatever. So what you can be doing is kind of, now you've got that dangling carrot of like, say, 5 weeks away when gym's open, you want to go heavy again. Like, you can make a massive difference between now and then in terms of like Shane says about your tendon health and kind of your likelihood to get DOMs and soreness and stuff like that. Like, if you do like, say, I know it's quite boring, but like even like high rep squats and high rep knee flexion, hip flexion, high rep high volume hip hinging, high volume pressing, high volume pulling. If you can do like a little block now where you're kind of getting basically keeping it simple and going through all those different movement patterns, and getting a pump on and working hard and getting to the point where you're actually having to like get rid of the kind of phase of training where you get a load of DOMs now and build like a base that you can recover from. I think it's going to be hugely beneficial, and you're going to be able to get back into like, or almost like go straight back into like a strength block or whatever. Like, you can go,
Yeah, I think it'd be smart to do, you kind of like you say, that kind of like introductory weeks, get them out of the way now.
Yeah,
so ready to crack on as soon as you start.
Because I find it so beneficial, like doing like little phases or little 2 to 4 week blocks of that. Like, say for instance, like me doing the like how I'm training for the world's medley at the minute.
Yeah.
Like, there's no pressure on going near comp weight. There's no pressure on actually being fast yet. Like, it's so far away, but what I can do, rather than thinking, oh, well, I don't need to train it because because it's like most of the year away. What I can actually do now is do some like low pressure sessions where I'm just keeping it aerobic and keeping it easy. I'm doing quite a lot of volume with like really, really light, but the focus is on like skill acquisition and getting my hand position right, getting to the point where I can recover, like where I'm thinking of doing like, say, 15, 20 sets of a sled drag in a session. And yeah, it's quite light, but session 1, I feel like, fuck me, I feel like my legs aren't going to be able to function that for the next week. Session 2 feels okay. Session 3, it feels like easy. I can just train as normal after that. So when it gets to the point where I need to scale the things that I've got that kind of really broad, keeping it dead simple. We don't need to get scientific with it. I just call it like a specific recovery base. So basically, I think people should think of the stuff that you want to push when you get back to the gym. And like, say, for instance, you've only been able to do 120 kilo deadlifts at home, and you're a 300 kilo deadlifter. You want to be going back into the gym, pulling 250, 260, 270 for reps or whatever. Like, you can build up your kind of hip hinge recovery base massively now. Like, say, doing like, say, high volume hip hinges, hip thrusts, glute bridges, single leg RDLs. Focus on your balance. Focus on like stuff where you're getting loads of just basically accumulating loads of volume, doing loads of damage, doing loads of work that takes a couple of weeks to recover from, but you're just going to be able to hit the ground running. So Shane, what about people who have like struggled with body composition a little bit? Like, what would you say to somebody who, well, you talk about what would you say to somebody who's like, say, lost weight, and they feel like they've lost muscle mass, and they feel like during lockdown they've lost 5 or 6, 7 kilos in muscle mass, and the confidence is down, and they want to get back to putting on some weight again. What would your advice be to that kind of case study?
It's one of those things where it's like, like when you first hurt your back and you think to you, like, because everybody strength trainers will eventually at some point they'll hurt the back. And the first time it happens, you fucking panic and you think, fucking hell, I'm going to lose all the strength. It's going to take me forever. And sometimes the psychological side of it, you actually make it worse than what it is because you're so panicky because you never experienced it before. It's kind of like when you lose a lot of muscle. You think to yourself, it's going to take so fucking long to get it back. I can't believe it, and panicky. But when you've had, things crop up that have forced you to take breaks and you've lost tissue before, you realize that it comes back so quick. Like, and it's kind of a shit way I said it, but genuinely, I wouldn't even worry because 4 to 5 weeks back into training, you'll probably look and feel better than you did, whenever it was you were last able to train, even if it was like 6-7 months ago, whatever, when you were last able to put some good structure together in. It just, muscle memory is such a like true thing, it just works so well, and people will just get back to where they were. So as hard as it is to accept psychologically, once you get back in the gym, you'll be fine. And I actually had this conversation with Ash Broughton, who I trained the other day, because he's not been able to train this lockdown much since December or whenever it was, end of December. And he actually said to me, like, I'm not worried, Shane, because last time I couldn't train for like 6 months or whatever, and I felt like shit when I first came back. But then 8 weeks later, he pulled 4:10 or something. He pulled a PB in like 8 to 10 weeks. So he's like, I'm not worried because I've experienced it. So I kind of know that it's not going to be that much of an issue. And everybody should be in that same boat, realistically, even with strength. As long as you, like I said, if you only get the first couple of weeks right, you don't hurt yourself, you don't cause yourself anything you're dragging into the later training weeks, your muscle mass, your strength will come back really quick. As long as you get on top of your diet, get your normal structure back with your nutrition, because I'm sure we've all been pretty shite with that during lockdown. Get yourself back on the routine that you used to be in prior to lockdown. Get your normal breakfast in, your normal amount of meals that fit your day. Get back on that, get training, you'll just blow up. You might even get past where you were before quicker than you expect. It's not unheard of, but especially people who use PEDs. People who use PEDs will blow up to bigger than they were before lockdown really quickly because of not using stuff and being so fresh to the compounds for a long while. You'll just explode. So I wouldn't even worry about it, to be honest.
Right. So let's talk about the nutrition side a little bit more in depth. So let's assume that let's be honest, like everybody listening to this, pretty much everybody, your routine is going to be been thrown the last few months. So when routine goes out of the window, it's like a holistic cycle, isn't it? Training, nutrition, sleep, and like when something gets upset in your routine, it can have a knock-on effect with everything else. So, like, I know plenty of people who've like either lost quite a bit of weight, or quite a lot of people who've put on some lockdown podge or whatever. So let's finish off talking briefly about some like nutrition pillars. Without getting too scientific, let's keep it layman's terms. What kind of nutrition pillars would we give to people? Like what do you generally eat, Shane? What do you to maintain? What are you, 95-ish or something?
Yeah, I usually sit around 95 is the most common.
So what do you like? Say you're wanting to maintain that weight, but you're wanting to say work towards your 170 log or 170 plus log. What will your nutrition look like ideally?
So I have a really boring day because with my nutrition, I like to be a bit of a robot and eat similar stuff every day, because I feel like I don't know, I kind of find what I feel good on, what sits well, what doesn't bloat me. Like basically, I go off training like. I'm not this weird. I'm not really too fussed that much actually after training, but like my breakfast and my pre-training meal are always the same because I always feel good in the gym. Like I hate it when I have something new and it bloats me or something and I just don't feel as good in the gym. So My diet's very, very simple, to be honest. So my breakfast is always 2 bagels with 4 bacon medallions and 4 eggs. And it works out. And sometimes I'll have a bit of hollandaise sauce on and turn it into like a eggs Benedict. But that works out usually roughly 100 carbs, 30 fat, 70, 80 protein. So, and it's about 1,000 calories. So I have a big meal for breakfast. That's how I like to do it. First meal of the day is my biggest meal, apart from my tea, 2 big meals a day. Second meal, I should have a microwave pot of gold, which is basically chicken, rice, and veg in a little microwavable ready meal thing. Really handy to have in the freezer. That's about 500 calories. And then I will usually go train. So I train with about 1,600 calories in me. And then I have another pot of gold after training, puts me at 2,000 calories. And then if I'm maintaining weight, I'll tend to have a tea or dinner that's about 1,000 to 1,500 calories. So it puts me at 3,000 to 3,500. And my tea is the only meal that's like whatever Shannon makes. You know, it's usually pretty healthy because she doesn't cook shite, but it kind of varies every day. If I'm trying to gain weight, I literally do the exact same thing, apart from I'll add in a meal before bed. So I'll usually have something before bed that adds about 500-600 calories. So it puts me up in about 4,000 range. So it's really simple. And my diet between losing, maintaining, and gaining is very similar. So to lose weight, I'll eat the same thing as maintaining, but I'll cut out a bagel, 2 eggs, and 2 bacons, which drops me about 500 calories, and then I'm in a deficit. It's like the most simple thing in the world. I do snack on a few bits here and there. So any snacks will usually be frozen fruit, frozen blueberries, stuff like that. They're quite low calorie, so I don't even really count them when I talk about my diet. But I do try and get micronutrient style snacks in. Frozen blueberries are my go-to. I usually have a bowl of frozen blueberries a day. I'd like to sit there with frozen blueberries and eat them while I watch TV randomly. They're quite nice if you never had frozen blueberries. That crunchy. It's just better than fucking crisps or whatever, isn't it? And yeah, that's it really.
So how many calories roughly for your maintenance?
About 3 to 3.5. I never eat a set calories a day. It'll vary. So, but 3 to 3.5, I'll always maintain. 4 will always be chipping away gaining, and 3 to 2.5 will be a steady loss.
And how much do you have macro targets or not?
I have the way I do my diets is a protein target.
Yeah.
And then I don't track my carbs or fats, will just be, they kind of fall in place naturally as to how I feel. You know, like I used to have quite a low fat diet, but I found that I had energy dips and fluctuations where I'd have a spike of energy and a crash. Whereas if I have a little bit less carbs, a little more fat, I'm quite stable throughout the day. And I just kind of figured that out over time.
Yeah.
And also I've worked with nutritionists here and there that have tried different diets with me that I've stuck to. And I've kind of found when I've done certain things, I feel a certain way, and kind of just found what makes me feel the best. Because I think with dieting for performance, I really do believe it's all about how you feel and your energy levels and stuff.
Yeah.
So even if I'm in a calorie deficit, if I am quite stable with my energy and I can train hard, I maintain or gain strength. Whereas I could be on a similar calorie diet but feel lethargic, and then I get weaker because I'm just not training very hard.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think people listening should, rather than thinking, because I'll explain what I do, and it's quite similar in a lot of ways, but very different in others. And the point is, like, you feel good and you make progress. I feel good and I make progress. And I think people fall into the trap of trying to follow somebody else's ideal diet, if that makes sense. They'll go on Google and they'll try, I'm going to try this diet, or I'm going to try intermittent fasting, or I'm going to try tracking my macros. I'm going to try whatever, all these different kind of things. But I think just like training, you've got to kind of, and I'm not sitting on the fence here with advice. So like I'm just saying that you have, like, everybody is unique, and you've got to find what fits in with your structure, and like you say, Shane, how you feel as well. like a big difference for me is like I don't eat breakfast. I never eat breakfast. I feel like if I eat breakfast, like my energy levels, like.
Yeah, I am exactly the same. I say breakfast, but it's not at the time of which you probably imagine breakfast.
Put it this way, right? When I train, I usually train, and I haven't eaten. I usually train early afternoon off an empty stomach, and I just haven't eaten. That's why, like, don't get me wrong, like everybody's different, but like I do find it funny when people say about like they're doing the fasted cardio and stuff like that, and I just think, fuck me, that's how I train every day. Like,
yeah, I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting because I'll have my first meal, my breakfast I call it, after this podcast.
right.
So it's not. So I got up at 10 today, so I've had I had 2 coffees, my second coffee, and I find if I eat breakfast when I first wake up,
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I'm fucking starving like an hour later, and I don't know why.
yeah, definitely, 100%.
Whereas if I wait 2 hours or something like that until I'm hungry and want to eat instead of just eating it for the sake of it, then I can eat it and I'll stay full for fucking ages and I feel good. Whereas I get this energy crash, and I read into it once because they call it like post-breakfast hunger because it's one of the benefits that people talk about with intermittent fasting is avoid letting you. I can't remember the exact science. It's something like they said that your hormone levels are everywhere, and by giving it an hour or 2 to settle, you're less likely to get the spikes in insulin and stuff, which will then set off your leptin and ghrelin or whatever that make you hungry. And I tried it once, and I was like, oh, it worked, and it was like proper drastic. And then that's why if I'm struggling to gain weight, I'll put my breakfast earlier because it makes me hungry an hour later and then eat another meal.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I've never been one of them guys that needs thousands and thousands of calories. It's piss for me to overeat, like really easy for me to overeat.
Yeah.
So I do the stuff that keeps me satiated instead of the things that make me eat more, because I don't really need to eat more, to be honest.
Yeah. So in terms of calories, I'll have like a similar thing to Shane. I usually around 95-ish. I'm like 92.5 at the minute. But I've been eating just under 3,000 calories.
Do you track, Josh?
Well, I phase it. If I've like kind of gone out of, I like to be within the window of 92 to 95. If I go past 95, say I go up to 96, I got up to 98 over Christmas 99, and then I start tracking to get that a layer of accountability basically. Yeah. To basically, right, well, get me into 2,700, 2,800 for a little while, get me into the window where I feel better, and I feel so much better like now at like 92, 95-ish or whatever.
Yeah, I track for about 2 or 3 weeks in a row, probably every couple of months. I never sustain it for a while, to the point where I feel like everything I'm tracking, I'm kind of making myself, you know what I mean? Like when I weigh my oats out, I'm guessing, and then I check and I'm like, right, I'm right now.
Yeah.
And I get to the point where I'm thinking, if I don't track, I'm probably going to be 100 calories above or below.
Yeah, that's it. That's what's good about, like I don't encourage anybody to track all the time, because I think you build an unhealthy relationship with food and stuff. But I do think it's got value in, like, say, doing what you say, Shane, you know, like say 1 to 2 weeks every couple of months, because what you can do is like when you're hungry and you're making your meals, right? There's an emotional kind of effect. What's happening? You're hungry, so you're kind of making you're pouring your oats out, Shane, when you're hungry, and you just think, oh, I'll have a bit more there, and it might be, you might subconsciously think, oh, it's about 60, 70, 80 grams or whatever. You might be pouring 120, 130 out, yeah, or a bit of honey on, and you think it's 5 to 10 grams. It might be 30, 40 grams or peanut butter or whatever. Like it's so easy to be swayed by emotion. So when you go back to tracking and just weighing stuff, it just reteaches you oh shit, this is what my portion should be to match my current goal. Like my portion size should be actually this. That's 80 grams of pasta or whatever. So it's like a nice little reminder for you. And then when you obviously feeling close to your goal, then you can kind of take the layer out and just go back to estimating a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think as well, I touched on this subject. So sometimes when I've spoke to people that I coach about tracking and stuff, for some reason in strongman, it's kind of like seeing that. I don't know. I really think the dietary habits in strongman are just really like. I think people just have a bad relationship with food, and they're always looking at different special diets. Like to me, the strongman scene is really similar to like female fitness body health things where they sell the juice plus and all this shit. Because it's very rare in strongman that people just have a balanced, sustainable diet. People are always looking for some crazy performance-based diet to increase the strength. Like the vertical diet went mad, and at the moment, I've had people message me because I don't know if you're a YouTube follower, Josh, but Brian Shaw's been posting a lot of YouTube videos about his transformation that he's making at the moment, and he uses Nathan Payton for his nutrition, who I imagine is a very clever guy. I'd love to fucking chat to him because he obviously knows what he's talking about. But the diet that he has Brian Shaw on is obviously it must fit Brian, but it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it's he's eating like bison and rice for breakfast, you know, and some people will then think, oh, I have to eat meat and rice to be, you know, this, you know, for breakfast. And it's like, well, why can't he have something he enjoys? Like I'm sure he doesn't want to eat bison and rice. And then there was another meal he was eating that he made on his last video where he had all this cod, with some caramel rice cakes on the side and some blueberries, and covering him in vinegar. And I'm just thinking, like, it's not the most sustainable diet in the world to eat dry cod with vinegar on, some rice cakes, and like it doesn't even make a meal. It's just like a concoction. But the problem is people see that and they think, right, Brian Shaw eats like this, so I need to eat like this. And it's so common in strongman that I've got like these novices or amateurs, whatever you want to call them.
And they're just trying to follow like a fad or somebody else they like, and
and it just becomes a similar thing where I'm like, no, it's really not right. You should, you know, you can't sustain cod and vinegar for fucking years. You know what I mean? And if you do, you will get an eating disorder. You will turn into somebody who thinks, because I've seen it, I'm sure you've seen it as well, where people associate a certain food with gains and another food with bad, I will get fat. And
definitely.
Like the vertical diet, people are like, if I don't eat mince and rice, you know, I will get fat. Whereas if I eat mince and rice, I'm going to get jacked. And it's like, well, no, it's not the way it works.
That's it. Like I'm a good example of why you've just got to find what fits your structure, something sustainable that you can keep up with. Like, because a big thing for me was stop. I haven't eaten any meat at all for, I think, 2 years now, and I've made a lot of progress in the gym since then, and progressed all my lifts and stuff, which I don't like talking about because I don't like people to think that that's that I'm claiming that that's the reason. Like some people say to me, "Oh, do you feel better since you stopped eating meat?" Oh yeah, and I'm like, "Well, no, I feel like the same as I think I would if I still ate chicken and stuff like that." Like,
like you don't know, you just feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel good. It's not. It's like not the magic diet that's made a difference. It's actually getting all the other bits of the puzzle together and being consistent and finding a thing that's sustainable with nutrition, training, sleep, recovery, or the whole kind of package, rather than thinking, oh, should I be trying this because so and so does it? Like,
Just for me, a nice change for me was I ate oats for breakfast for years, like literally years. I just had oats with a scoop of whey. Became like a robot. Like at breakfast, it was just like made oats, put whey in it. And when I first started working meat, but the thing is with the oats, right? I didn't realize this. Well, I should have because it's like obvious, but I didn't feel good on them. I just did it for so long that I thought I felt normal. If that makes sense.
yeah,
Like you'd think you'd realize that you didn't feel good on them, but because I just did it for so long, I didn't actually know what feeling good was. And Eurus put me on bagels, and this is about 3 years ago now, and I've still got an Insta story highlight called Bagel Shreds because he just made me eat fucking about 400 bagels a day. But when I swapped the oats for bagels, although it's like similar macronutrients, you know, carbohydrate wise and whatnot, I felt so much better on them because they just digested better. Like oats make me bloated, and the whey protein as well made me bloated. So when you make this meal of whey and oats, I didn't feel good on it.
yeah.
I know it's a really common meal though that works for 90% of people. It's fucking well common. But for me, I was just eating it as routine. And when I swapped to bagels, my energy levels felt better. I was less bloated. I didn't feel like I was going to shit myself fucking 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
And my training started going better because, you know, my guts felt healthy. And
you know what, Shane? This is a brilliant example of why people need to find what works for them, because like I've had exactly the same thing, but the other way around. Like, since I used to feel like you did off oats and whey when I was eating bread all the time, and I used to have toast and stuff like that. And then I've gone the other way, and I've gone to eat more oats now and porridge and stuff, and I feel great, and digestion is so much better. And the point is like we're both right. And
yeah, it's
like how could we prescribe to a client, you have to go and eat this? Like that.
But what I also see the issue is a good nutritionist will say to a client, what do you react best to?
Yeah, what makes you feel good?
Yeah, but the issue I see there is I don't think people know. And they'll tell the nutritionist, oh, this. Like I'd have told someone oats. I'd have said, well, I eat oats every day. That's what I'm good with. And they'd have given me oats. You know what I mean? And I think people need to realize you need to experiment with your food a little bit. Like try oats, try bagels, you know, try fucking cutting your meat protein sources down and, you know, eating a little bit more protein from dairy or whatever. And your carbohydrate source, try pasta, try rice, try potato, try sweet potato, and see which you feel best on. And then you can start to build a diet, in my opinion, that's much better for performance. Because, like I said, to me, the key is not knowing you're in a deficit, not knowing you're in a surplus, not knowing you're at maintenance, just feeling good. Because then, if you're in a deficit, you'll lose the weight you're aiming for, but you'll still go in the gym, buzzing and training hard and getting better at your sport. If you go in the gym lightheaded and fucking like the amount of times people come in like, oh, I'm in a deficit, that's why I'm like this, boys, I'm in a deficit. It's like, well, you're doing your deficit wrong if you're in the gym feeling like you're going to go sleep. Like, shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah. So to wrap up, like I suppose we're both saying the same thing. What we say about training, that we say about anything that you want to be successful with. Like, be consistent. Be consistent with something. Do something for a week. Like, eat the same stuff. Like, eat the same like kind of calories and macros for a week or whatever from the similar sources. Assess how you feel. Do you feel good? Are you getting a little bit closer towards your goal? Right, we'll do another week at that. Yeah. Assess after the second week. Like, is that helping you towards your goal? No, I'm not losing any weight. Right. Well, can we strip back 100 calories? Can we take out whatever 40 grams of carbs from there? Can we oh no, I felt a bit shit off that. Right. Well, can we put those back in and strip back from fats a little bit? And just play around. Like, but the only way that you're going to find out what's unique, what works best for you, is by being consistent and then assessing, being consistent for a period of 7 to 10, 14 days or whatever. And then like give yourself an honest appraisal. Like, is it working for you? Why don't you try a different amount of meals per day? Why don't you try loading your food in the evening? Why don't you try eating more in the morning? Like, play around and see what makes you, like Shane says, that's a brilliant thing from this conversation that I've got. Like, is there's what Shane just said about there's no excuse to feel shit. Like, if you're not feeling good, like even if you're in a deficit or whatever, there's so many variables that you can kind of play around with to make you feel a little bit better. Yeah, great.
Yeah, like one of the key ones to me was sparking a load of food before training and making it predominantly carb based. So Uris used to get me, and this is something that I still do today on certain days where, like, say I've underate or something, or I feel a bit flat, or I can tell going into, say I'm training at 4 and at 1 o'clock I can tell, like, oh, I'm a bit low on energy today. This is when I'll do this still. Is he'd have me have like two bagels with jam on about an hour or so before the gym. And for me, it sits really well. It's about 120 carbs, about 30 of that is from the jam, so fast acting, and about 80 or so is from the bagels. And it's probably about 500 or so calories. So it's not that huge a chunk at like 3,000, 3,500. But even if I was in a deficit, if I had that meal an hour before training, I get a good pump, I feel good, I don't start going lightheaded or anything. I'm not bloated. I don't feel like, oh, I've just ate before the gym. For me, that little thing there just works class. And I can apply that no matter what my calories are doing. Surplus, maintenance, deficit. If I want to feel good in the gym and I do that, for me,
yeah,
they sit well, they digest well. And so I'm always feeling class. We don't need to go, I'm in a deficit now, so I'm going to not eat anything pre-training. I'm going to, spread it out over the day. No, spread it out where it makes you feel good. Like, if you need something pre-training, have something pre-training. If that makes you feel like shit, have a bigger meal a couple of hours even further before that, and find out what makes you go in the gym and just want to sling tin. Because if you find that, then your strength training will keep progressing.
Yeah, I do that, Shane, with occasionally, if it, like sometimes I go lightheaded on log.
Yeah.
If I feel like that's happened, and it might happen in the next session, like just before I'm going to train heavy log again, I'll go. I'll do that with oats, and I'll just have like some like a little bit of porridge and honey, say 60 grams, and a bit of 10 grams of honey or something, and that generally makes me feel a little bit better. But without that thing that you hit the nail on the head with about feeling bloated and that you've eaten or whatever, and feeling full before training. So
it's just a game, innit? You got to figure it out for yourself. And one day you'll just eat something before you train. And the problem people have is they don't click. You need to click. If you eat something before you train, you have a great session. Instead of going, oh, I had a fucking brilliant session today, and then forgetting about everything you did up to it, think, well, what did I eat before? What was my routine? Maybe I've accidentally done a perfect routine for me and I didn't even know. And then you can try it again. And if it works consistently, you fucking cracked it.
Yeah. So be consistent and be mindful and reflect on what you do and what works, and repeat. Peace out.